Hello everyone, there's a very interesting thread on Spectrum, started by Hawk S, Yogi on Mastermodes and Combat at Shadow Moses Discord. Link to the Spectrum thread is in my first pinned comment below. And he wrote, thanks to Hater115, we have a more complete version of the Discord discussion. Member 1, can you say something about the reasoning why we have oversteer or non-infinite rotational acceleration to begin with? And Yogi CRG replied, I would say because you are flying ships, not debug cameras. Without jerk, the ship rotations do not feel as nice as I want them, but in general, we will not instantly stop the rotations because you let go the controls. Also, rotation acceleration on the Gladius are the same. They just take longer because we slightly bumped the rotational speeds. We have jerk on a to-do list and I think we will probably cut down rotational speeds anyway, so we will evaluate that then. Member 2, if the goal is to create good positional combat, you typically want ships with higher angular velocity, not lower. Right now, the Gladius and Aero can actually crank the combat radius down pretty well if both players are pushing, but the other archetypes just end up jousting in a large radius due to the lack of angular velocity. The only reason you would decrease angular velocity is if the ships have no ability to maintain a short combat distance. Yogi CIG replied, it's not just about that, the combat gameplay is currently faster than I want it to be, so once I have some of the internally discussed changes, we will see what we will do with the tuning. Yeah, the good old, we are looking into this, we want to do some tuning. Yogi, we are in year 12. CIG still doesn't even have the flight model and ship combat nailed down. Member 3 replying to Yogi, fast as in time to kill or in pace of the fight. Yogi, pace of fight I find too fast, time to kill I find too long. Okay. Time to kill is not too long at the moment, you can kill small and medium ships in seconds. Hater115 given context, at this point multiple users show Yogi examples of low time to kill and counters. Yogi CRG, that's not typical, I have loads of fights that don't look like that. Yogi, this statement alone tells me you have no idea what you're talking about. How about you actually do some fighting and then come back and then try to give us a nice flight model and ship combat? Member 4, most of my fights feel like that, especially with cannons, doing private duels with repeaters, and they feel so much more fun and fair. Yogi, yeah, weapon tuning is not on point. I think it's better than in 3.22, but it's a placeholder anyways. Proper tuning is for 4.0. Okay, this again is just silly. First of all, weapon tuning is not better than in 3.22. And second, again, we are in year 12. Things like weapon tuning you should have done in year 2 or 3. Now we are in year 12 and CRG is still throwing spaghetti at walls and check what sticks. Hater115 giving context, Yogi talks back and forth on specific weapon balance and previous balancing decisions for a bit longer until being challenged to PvP. Member 5, would you like to hop into Arena Commander with some of us? We can show you the more nuanced decisions of using laser repeaters and how to kite. Yogi, no, I'm really not interested in the current game. As I said, 3.23 is just prepping stuff for 4.0 and there are bigger things on the way. I still stand by what I said in relation to pacing. There's an imbalance in time to kill and the game does not feel how we want it to feel yet. And I do think this is due to the pacing. If I would need to describe it, I would say I want to see more fighting but less hitting before one pops, if that makes sense. We have very experienced players who want to show Yogi the problems with the current Mastermodes, and Yogi just chickens out, claiming, yeah, 4.0 is coming, 3.23 is just a placeholder. CIG is using the same argument for more than 11 years by now. You can argue, those players are most likely the top 5%. You shouldn't balance your game for the top 5%, and this is correct. On the other hand, those top 5% can show you things your average player cannot show you, but still affect your average player. Yogi, you should have joined them. Member 6 replying to Yogi's earlier time to kill I find too long. dude, what game does CRG have that we don't? I get you don't want to talk about it, but you can 2-3 shot people in this game. If that is long time to kill, I can't wait till I make it where I can one-shot everyone. Exactly this, Yogi doesn't seem to understand how the game works. Yogi is CRG. When I say imbalance in time to kill, I mean that there are a lot of ships that don't feel right. Yogi, you didn't say imbalance, you said, let's take a look. Time to kill I find too long. This was a general statement, not about some very specific ships. Let's continue. The Bucky and Cutlass, for example, I find quite being too tanky at times. May it be due to issues with the setup or simply numbers. Some ships take too long to die under consistent fire. That does not mean that this is true for all ships, but I still find the pacing too fast at times. Yeah, Yogi, you are pretty much backpedaling. This is not what you said a few minutes ago. Hater115 giving context. After this, Yogi was questioned on the release cadence of upcoming fixes, responding with, Yogi, that's a bit mean. He says this because someone called decision makers monkeys. I do not do flight tuning. That is the job of the vehicle experience team. I keep track of overall combat and the flight experience, but I'm not doing the day-to-day work on that. And if the team decided to go for 3.23.2, then they made the decision for a reason and I trust them. This is exactly the problem with Star Citizen in year 12, no coordination. There is not one person responsible for flight model, ship combat, weapon balance, armor, missile damage. Instead, you have multiple groups over multiple studios who are working on their own little thing with very little coordination between them. Of course, I'm not saying that one person should work on all of this is impossible, but we need one person who wears the hat, who makes the decisions, something CRG still doesn't have. Member 7 replying to Yogi, is positional combat being looked at as well? Is the goal for fighters to be wrestling for position and low time to kill applies only if someone actually gains position? Yogi CRG, that's space combat in general? Short answer is yes. CRG is thinking once again about World War II in atmosphere, where positions are very important. In World War II in atmosphere, you either needed to have a more agile airplane with a better turning radius, or you went for boom and zoom attacks just to be able to point your guns at your enemy. Things are very different in space though. We have 6 degrees of freedom, and in decoupled you can just turn around your ship and fire at a guy who was behind you. It almost looks like CRG wants to turn space fight into an atmospheric fight all the time, which I really don't like. Member 7 replying to Yogi, current combat is very nose to nose, which is why I asked. Not very positional at all. Glad that positional is the goal. Yeah, right now it's still jousting or die. Yogi replied, that's why I discuss egg shapes, jerk, etc. And Yogi wrote, possibly yes, we will see. Again, don't expect too much stuff in 3.23. 4.0 is way bigger than 3.23 and we rather focus on that. Yeah, the good old CRG, trust me pro. We have everything totally figured out. Just wait a little bit longer and everything will be fine. CRG, Yogi, you look like amateurs and you look like you have no idea, no clue what you are doing. Why not just admit it? CryEngine is a good choice if you want to have a beautiful game, but CryEngine is a terrible choice for an MMO. By now, CryEngine is absolutely ancient and obsolete with massive LOD and culling issues. CRG is shoving Mastermodes down our throats because the obsolete engine, the terrible netcode, the terrible servers cannot handle combat at normal speeds, so everything will get slowed down and will get slowed down even more. Even with Mastermodes, we still have a lot of desync and lag issues. Right now, I would say that less than 50% of Star Citizen players actually like Mastermodes. I don't like it. It's arcadey and gamey. Oh, you want to use your guns and have shields? Reduce your speed to SCM. It's not fun, it is slow, and it will get even slower. Mastermodes does not eliminate jousting, but makes it almost mandatory in fights to survive. And we have those smaller things like weapon groups are not saved when switching modes, and speed limiter goes back to default when switching between modes. For example, you switch to nav mode, you want full speed, speed limiter is somewhere in the middle and you have to move it up all the time. Thank you very much Flickr for showing me this thread. Let me know what you think in the comments below and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Ejecting into a Valkyrie, this is a cargo area. I try to be very close and now eject. And he is clipping through the Valkyrie, he is now inside, unharmed. Pretty much identical to Andromeda, he can walk around. Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter. My Twitter account is Camural_SC.